I took legal action against my sister-in-law after she tampered with my prenatal medication because I refused to name my baby after her ex-husband. My husband Luke, 29M, and I, 29F, are expecting our first child. After years of struggle with infertility, we were overjoyed to learn that I was pregnant. However, what should have been a happy occasion turned into a nightmare because of my sister-in-law, Lyla, 34F, who had a terrible history, including a painful divorce after having an affair with her ex-husband's brother. While her ex-husband Joe moved on, Lyla stayed unmarried, holding on to the concept of him as a member of the family despite the affair. Lyla looked delighted and wanted to be a part of my pregnancy. Initially, I assumed she was simply delighted to be an aunt, but her pleasure quickly took an unusual turn. She continued offering baby names, but they were all variations of Joe's. Despite my uneasiness, I attempted to explain to her that Luke and I had previously decided not to name our kid after anyone in the family. I wanted something unique and interesting. Lyla was hurt, but I assumed she'd understand. However, she continued to send us baby name lists related to Joe, believing that it would honor the family and be meaningful to them. I set boundaries, but she did not follow them. Then things took a worrying turn. I had a little pregnancy concern and was provided medicine. Lyla volunteered to pick it up for me, and I agreed. The next day, after taking the prescription she provided, I felt dizzy and sick. I ended up in the emergency room, where doctors determined that the medication I was given was not what I had been prescribed. It was a considerably higher and riskier dosage for pregnancy. Initially, I assumed it was a pharmacy error, but my suspicions rose as Lyla was the one who received the pills. I called her to see whether she had noticed anything unusual. Her response astonished me. She laughed at first, saying she chose a higher amount on her own because she wanted me to pay for not naming my child after her ex. She began laughing, but then went on to add that she received a bigger dose since she believed it would benefit me more. She spoke it carelessly, without regard for the potential ramifications. I was very irritated. I ended up in the ER, and she didn't appear to realize how severe her actions were. She stated she only wanted to help. I informed her that what she did was unlawful and dangerous, and it may have harmed me and my kid. Only then did she begin to apologize, but it seemed insincere. At that point, I realized I had to act. After discussing it with Luke, we decided to take legal action. We filed a police report, documented everything, and notified her that we would be pursuing charges for tampering with my prescription. I believed that this was the only way to make her understand how terrible the issue was. This circumstance has undoubtedly strained relations within the family. Lyla is attempting to paint herself as the victim, claiming she had no idea it would upset me. But I can't accept it. If she truly cared about my health, she would not have changed my medicine without my knowledge, especially since I am pregnant. Some families believe we are going too far by involving the police, claiming that she was only trying to help. However, tampering with drugs is a severe matter, and good intentions do not excuse it. Now I'm torn. I'm worried I'm overreacting, especially since some family members are upset with me and claim it's harming our family. However, I believe she breached a significant threshold that cannot be overlooked. What she did may have hurt me or my baby. If I let this go, it would feel like I am enabling her to intervene in my life and jeopardize our safety simply because she felt she was helpful. I hate that it has come to this, but I feel like I have no option. Perhaps suffering legal consequences will make her realize how serious her acts were. Still, I'm questioning everything, and I'd appreciate any other perspectives. So, Reddit, AITA for pursuing legal action against my sister-in-law for interfering with my meds simply because I refused to name my child after her ex. Update 1. Hello everyone, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for your concern regarding my health. This means a lot to me. I'm feeling a lot better now, luckily. My physicians have kept a tight check on me, and I am now back on my original medication, which is safe for my pregnancy. I wanted to give you an update on my problem with my sister-in-law Lyla. Since I mentioned pursuing legal action against her for interfering with my medicine in my last report, things have shifted in unexpected ways. I was still absorbing what Lyla had done and dealing with the ramifications when she contacted me. She called to apologize, stating she didn't intend for things to escalate and thought she was helpful. Initially, I wanted to trust her. I thought she was sincerely remorseful for interfering with my meds, but just as I was about to accept her apologies, she said something that completely took me off guard. She dismissed me, saying that I should realize that she merely wanted to help. It felt false, as if she was attempting to transfer blame rather than accept responsibility. That wasn't the worst part. Shortly after our conversation, I began hearing reports from other family members about what Lyla had said. She was telling everyone that my baby wasn't Luke's. She said this was the reason I did not want to name the baby after a family member. I couldn't believe it. Not only was she attempting to spin the tale about her activities, but she was also putting my marriage and my child's paternity in the confusion. When I learned about this, I was filled with rage. Lyla's lies were making me mad. I was attempting to protect myself and my pregnant baby, and she was spreading lies to justify her behavior. I questioned her directly, questioning why she had made such an accusation. Instead of accepting responsibility, she dismissed it as a misunderstanding and stated that she did not mean it that way. It was difficult for me to accept. Lyla frequently reduced her behavior and deflected blame to others, and this seemed like just another example. She seemed to want to divert attention away from her irresponsible behavior and make me appear to be the problem in the family. The manipulation was annoying. I kept thinking about how I was attempting to protect my child and have a good pregnancy, only for her to cast doubt. After speaking with Luke, we realized that we needed to act. Luke phoned various relatives to explain the situation, claiming that Lyla was spreading misinformation. We needed to protect our youngster and clarify any misconceptions about our family. The aftermath has been difficult. Some family members have shown their support, while others have reprimanded us for generating unnecessary drama. It's very frustrating since they don't comprehend the entire situation. This is more than simply names and Lyla's feelings. It is about keeping my child safe. I feel like I'm battling on two fronts. Lyla's manipulation and the family's misunderstandings. Lyla's determination becomes clearer as time passes. She is sticking to her story, trying to portray herself as the victim. I overheard her at a family occasion telling others that I was overdramatic. The more she bends the facts, the more determined I am to remain solid. I never expected to have to approach a family member about something like this, especially at such a terrible moment in my life. Lyla's behavior has also impacted my interactions with other family members. Some families are concerned about how this will affect future gatherings and relationships. I appreciate their desire to keep things peaceful, but at what cost? Do I have to pretend as if everything is fine while my sister-in-law makes false statements about my marriage and child? I won't do that. I've spoken with friends outside the family, and their advice has opened my eyes. Many people have encouraged me to remain strong and take notice of everything Lyla says or does that could harm my family. It's unsettling to think about how far she'll go to prove her point or manipulate the circumstance. Now I'm trying to concentrate on my pregnancy, but I can't stop thinking about Lyla's acts. I understand my right to protect my baby, but I'm also concerned about how this family strife may damage my child in the long run. Will kids hear unpleasant things about their aunt, which could harm our family's reputation? I am so frustrated and fatigued. If things get out of hand, we may have to take more drastic measures. Update 2. Hello everyone, it has been 6 months since my previous post, and I have a lot to tell you about what has been happening in my life lately. I'm on bed rest since my pregnancy has become hazardous. This means I should stay in bed as much as possible and minimize stress. Unfortunately, my sister-in-law, Lyla, is making it difficult for me to rest. I feel like I'm in a nightmare. This is a sensitive time for me, and all I want to do is focus on my health and getting ready for our baby. Instead, I'm constantly concerned about what Lyla will say next. Luke has been amazing throughout this. He supports me every day and makes me feel protected. He understands how badly this is impacting me and has attempted to address Lyla about her actions. After months of watching me suffer, he realized he couldn't take it anymore. He and his parents contacted Lyla and told her to stop telling lies. They informed her that if she didn't comply, she would be entirely cut off. We all thought that this would help her comprehend how serious the situation was and modify her conduct. Unfortunately, it had the opposite result. Lyla refused to listen and made everything worse. She acted like the victim, claiming we were overreacting and that she was simply trying to help, whatever that meant. It was difficult to think she could twist the facts like that, especially given her previous behavior. I knew I needed to watch out for myself and my kid, but it was exhausting. Lyla arrived at our home a few days later. I was lying in bed when I heard a big smash on the front door. Luke said, but before he could speak, she barged in. I was afraid. She began shouting, accusing me of wrecking the family. I was horrified and recognized how bad things had become. Luke swiftly stood in front of me, insisting that she go. I appreciated him stepping up, but it made me realize how hazardous the situation was. Lyla finally departed, and I was afraid. I had no idea what she was going to do next, and I hated feeling this way in my own home. After discussing it with Luke, we determined we needed to take decisive action. We needed to defend ourselves from Lyla. We agreed to file a restraining order against her. This was something we never imagined we would do. It felt drastic, But we couldn't ignore reality any longer. We needed to make sure we were safe, especially with the baby on the way. Obtaining a restraining order is not straightforward. We needed to meet with a lawyer, who advised us on what measures to take. We started collecting evidence of Lyla's actions. It was difficult to recall all of the mistakes she had made and said, but we knew they were significant. We documented every incident in which she disseminated misinformation and made threats. Meanwhile, my anxiousness worsened. Being on bed rest gave me too much time to ponder, and I was concerned about how Lyla's behavior would affect our baby. I also thought about how this could affect our family connections in the future. The prospect of raising a child in such an uncertain atmosphere was frightening. At the same time, Lyla persisted. She continued to propagate her vile rumors. I began hearing from other family members about what she was saying, which made me feel sick. I wanted to enjoy my pregnancy, but instead I got caught up in the commotion. Luke did all necessary to keep me safe from the circumstances. He contacted family to explain the situation and clear up any confusion. Some family members were supportive. Others were not. Some others said we were generating too much drama by taking legal action and that we should just get along. This frustrated me since they didn't realize how bad Lyla's behavior was. This wasn't just family gossip, it was about our health and safety. Lyla's activities have also had an impact on our relationships with other family members. Some others are concerned about how this would impact future family gatherings. I understand that they want to keep the peace, but I can't just act like everything is fine while Lyla spreads lies about us. I will not let her destructive behavior dictate our lives. I've also started telling friends outside the family about the predicament. Their support has been essential. They advise me to be tough and keep track of Lyla's actions. They make me understand that I am not overreacting and that I have every right to safeguard my child. It's good to have a support network beyond my family, especially when things get stressful. We are working on securing the restraining order, but I am also trying to focus on my pregnancy right now. I truly hope we receive the restraining order because Lyla's presence in our lives is becoming a hazard for everyone. I'll keep you folks updated on the results. Update 3. Hello everyone, it's been a few weeks since my previous update, and I have a lot to tell you about what's been happening. We ultimately received the restraining order against Lyla, which is a huge relief, but things were pretty stressful before that, and I'd like to share that with you. Lyla emailed me before we received the restraining order, which was a huge mistake. In her message, she threatened to harm me and my baby if I followed through on the restraining order. I was stunned. It was difficult to imagine that someone I thought of as family could say anything so cruel and dangerous. It seemed like she was attempting to intimidate me into quitting up. The email was filled with claims that I was the one ruining the family, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. Reading that email made me feel strange. I felt terrified and angry. How did she believe it was acceptable to threaten me? It was difficult not to let anxiety take over. I continued to be concerned about how her threats might affect my pregnancy and mental health. I couldn't let her dominate my life anymore, especially because I wanted to focus on my health and prepare for my baby. Luke was naturally angry when I showed him the email. He couldn't believe Lyla had gone this far. He instantly instructed me to save it as proof. He realized we had to take her warning seriously, so we started organizing to consult with our lawyer. It was exhausting to deal with all of this while trying to remain optimistic throughout my pregnancy, but I knew I needed to be strong for my baby. While we were working on the restraining order, I couldn't stop thinking about how Lyla's behavior had altered. What began as a silly quarrel had escalated into serious threats, and I was very hurt. I'd always thought of her as family, but now she appeared like a stranger who intended to hurt us rather than serve us. After a few difficult days, we went to court to file for the restraining order. I was apprehensive, but I knew it was important. With the email as proof, I thought the judge would understand how severe our situation was. During the hearing, I detailed everything that had occurred, from the prescription to the gossip to Lyla's threats. I noticed that the judge was paying careful attention and taking notes. When we received the restraining order, we felt a big relief. However, I realized this was only the start of a lengthy road. Despite the restraining order, I am still uneasy. Lyla had previously demonstrated her unpredictable nature, and I was concerned that she would try to contact me again, especially given her recent conduct. The concept of constantly glancing over my shoulder is exhausting. I want to enjoy my pregnancy, but instead I'm overwhelmed with anxiety. Luke and I discussed how to proceed. We knew we needed to maintain our distance from Lyla, but we also didn't want to isolate ourselves from the rest of the family. This was a sensitive position. We recognized we needed to be careful what we informed our families. We didn't want to engage them in the drama, but we also needed to keep ourselves safe. It's been a wild ride since the restraining order was issued. We must consider how to handle future family functions, especially because Lyla understands how to manipulate circumstances so that she appears to be the victim. Friends who still speak with her say she's attempting to elicit sympathy by stating we're overreacting and that I'm trying to turn everyone against her. It annoys me that she keeps spreading lies about us. When I hear from family about what Lyla is saying, I become concerned and upset. I just want to enjoy this period in my life without any turmoil. It's hard to keep focused when I know she's attempting to cause trouble. I need to remind myself that I am not the problem here. I am doing everything I can to protect my family, and I refuse to let her rule our lives any longer. Update 4. Hello, everyone. It's been a few weeks since my previous post, and I have a lot to discuss. First and foremost, we had our baby last month, and I couldn't be happier. Holding our baby temporarily alleviated all of our fears. The joy of parenthood is beyond words, and we are grateful for our healthy kid. We named him Neil, and he's already won our hearts. Despite our joy at the arrival of our new baby, my sister-in-law Lyla became concerned. As you may know, we previously secured a restraining order against her for her unpredictable conduct and threats to me and our child. It felt good to have legal protection, but I didn't anticipate things getting worse. Lyla unexpectedly showed up at our house shortly after Neil's birth. I was still healing from having birth and adjusting to being a new mother. Luke had gone out on a quick errand, and I was at home with the baby. While I was in the nursery comforting Neil, I heard a big bang at the front door. At first, I thought it was someone else, but when I looked out the window, I was shocked to see Lyla there, looking frantic, screaming, and demanding to see her little Joe. She was literally screaming at the top of her lungs, saying I was not letting her see her baby Joe and that she would call Child Protective Services on us if I didn't allow her in. I was so afraid. I didn't need her to arrive unexpectedly. I needed to protect my child, and I was terrified because of her. I hastily went for my phone to call Luke, but before I could touch the send button, I heard the door being pushed open. She'd gotten in. I had no idea how, but I could hear her calling my name. At that moment, I felt completely powerless. I knew I had to keep Neil safe, but I was still healing from the delivery. I took a long breath to relax myself. I elected to take Neil into the bedroom and close the door behind me. Lyla was shouting, and I could hear it. She sounded quite angry. It was clear she was not going to back down easily. I saw no other way out, so I dialed 911. I told the operator what was going on, including Lyla's restraining order and my concern for my own and my baby's safety. While I was speaking, Lyla continued beating on the door, begging to see Neil. It was terrible to realize how desperate she was to contact us. Fortunately, the cops responded shortly. I was relieved to hear sirens approaching because it meant aid was on the way. When the officers entered, Lyla was still attempting to break into the room. They intervened right away, pulling her back and attempting to calm her down. I finally opened the door after the cop told me Lyla was being held down. I saw the officers speaking to her, but I was too shaken to hear what they were saying. I stayed in the bedroom, keeping Neil tight and trying to console him because the loudness was making him cry. I felt terrible that he had to experience such chaos so early in his life. The police were speaking with Lyla, attempting to figure out why she had gone to our house and what her objectives were. Lyla's predicament turned out to be worse than I anticipated. The police informed me that her neighbors had reported her for trespassing many times. She had been acting suspiciously, attempting to enter their homes and cause havoc. The officers also discovered that she had multiple outstanding tickets and had been arrested for drunk driving just 2 weeks before she arrived at our place. It was astonishing to discover how troubled she was. Lyla was arrested for violating the restraining order. They felt it was significant, particularly given her recent actions. After the officers left with Lyla, I felt safe enough to breathe again. Luke arrived shortly after and was noticeably concerned when he noticed the police cars outside. He rushed in to discover me and Neil. As soon as he walked in, I felt a great weight lifted off my shoulders. I described everything that had transpired. Luke was outraged that Lyla had gone to our house, but he was grateful that the cops had handled it. We have taken steps to tighten our security. We've added more locks to the doors and installed a security camera outside. I wanted to ensure that we were safe from any further incidents. The news of what happened traveled swiftly, and family members soon called out to check on us. I felt grateful to everyone who helped and encouraged us during this difficult period. However, it was difficult to ignore Lyla's persistent attempts to elicit sympathy. She began to seek sympathy from anybody willing to listen. She modified the story, portraying herself as a misunderstood family member who simply wanted to visit her nephew. Some friends who had distanced themselves but remained in touch reported that Lyla insisted we were overreacting and making her life difficult, portraying herself as a victim. She conveniently ignored the threats she had made, as well as the severe reasons that prompted the restraining order. Her attempts seeking attention became increasingly desperate. As the truth came to light, we discovered that this was not her first encounter with the authorities. After Lyla's arrest, we discovered that she had a far longer criminal past than we had previously imagined. She had been involved in numerous theft and fraud cases over the years, which family members had kept hidden to avoid disgrace. This was stunning, especially because Luke and I learned how much she had lied to us. It caused us to doubt if much of what we knew about her was true. Her attempts to elicit pity began to fail as more family members and friends learned about her past offenses. The compassion she sought was replaced by judgment and disappointment from practically everyone around her, as she realized she had broken numerous lines and endangered her family for her own pride. Most people had concluded they were done with her. They realized that the situation was far worse than she had represented, and her lies crumbled as her criminal record and unpredictable behavior became public. Lyla is now cut off from the majority of her family because she is back in jail for her most recent misdeeds. After years of giving her opportunities, those close to her eventually recognize her true self. Luke and I are relieved that she is finally out of our lives. We have made it clear that we will not tolerate any further contact or give her another opportunity to manipulate or harm us. The entire scenario has been difficult, but knowing that we can move on with our lives, free of her manipulation and disruption, is a tremendous relief. We have taken precautions to safeguard ourselves, and especially our infant, from any future drama she may attempt to generate. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, we can fully focus on our family and raising Neil in a safe, loving environment. Lyla is finally gone, providing some serenity to our family after months of tension and fear. Luke and I can now concentrate on providing a safe and loving environment for our child, free of the chaos and manipulation that Lyla caused. Our family and friends have been really supportive, and it is comforting to know that we all agree on the importance of maintaining strong boundaries. It's awful how things progressed with someone we once trusted, but we've learnt the value of safeguarding our family and setting firm boundaries when necessary. It's reassuring to know that Lyla and her previous activities are no longer a part of our life, and we don't have to worry about her causing any problems. This event has taught us to value our peace and safety, and that is our goal going forward. This will hopefully be my last update here. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me and encouraged me during this time. I really needed a stranger's opinion on what was going on to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. Everyone who commented on my postings was really helpful. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.